All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. The wide receivers are coming off the board. The Niners wanted Diontae Johnson, and he went to Baltimore. So what do they do to get themselves some wide receiver help? We hit that next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go say hi to Damon. Go say hi to Mary. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. And join us on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday during the bye week. We'll be there from noon to 6 p.m. at Corte Madera, drinking beer, having barbecue, watching football. Hang out. Stop by. I'll be there. Kev will be there. It should be a great day in Corte Madera. Stop by and have some barbecue and help support Pig in a Pickle. And this video is also brought to you by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. We've done it 4 or 5 times. Download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners and get your first deposit matched up to $200. I just won last week. It's really easy to do. Once again, thanks to Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, let's talk about the trade market. We're just days away from the NFL trade deadline, and the Niners really need a bunch of things. They need a defensive end. They need a linebacker. They need a defensive tackle. They could use another defensive back. You could always use another offensive lineman. They could definitely use another running back because they don't know what the status of Christian McCaffrey. And they need more help at wide receiver. Juwan Jennings has a significant injury of his hip. He's been out. He has not been at the facility. We have no idea when he'll be back. They're hoping he'll be back after the bye, but there's no guarantees. Ayuk's done for the year. Cowing's a rookie. Pearsall's a rookie. Debo's dinged up. So, Kittle's 30. They're hurting for one more wide receiver. And let's talk a little bit about what the trade market has produced thus far. So far, we've seen D-Hop went to Kansas City for a 5th-round pick. So DeAndre Hopkins off the market. Diontae Johnson went to Baltimore today for a late-round pick swap. An unbelievable cheap price for Diontae Johnson. So that's good news and bad news. That's good news that the price for these receivers is super low. But it's bad news that Diontae Johnson is now a Baltimore Raven because he's a really solid receiver, and the Niners were one of the teams showing interest in Johnson. Amari Cooper, the Niners showed interest in him, but he got traded from the Browns to the Bills. Davante Adams, the Niners showed interest in him, but he went from the Raiders to the Jets. The Niners showed interest in Christian Kirk, but he broke his clavicle. So the Jaguars receiver is done for the year. So what do the Niners do at wide receiver? Who's left in the wide receiver trade market? All right, so based on the rumor mill, Cooper Kupp could be available, though I don't really believe that he is. So that's one big name out there that could be available, but probably not. Jonathan Mingo of the Carolina Panthers is available, young player, got a lot of size and strength. Kendrick Bourne from New England, older guy. KJ Osborne from New England, Mike Williams of the Jets, Jacoby Myers of the Raiders, Cortland Sutton of the Broncos, T. Higgins of the Bengals, Adam Thielen of the Panthers, Jerry Jeudy of the Browns are just some of the wide receivers out there. To me, none of those guys makes a ton of sense. I think of that group, the guy that makes the most sense would probably be Mingo, just because he's a young player who's got some upside, and he'll be with the 49ers down the road. Okay, so what do the Niners need here at receiver? They need really 2 things. They need some youth and some speed. Why do I say that? Well, look at their receivers next year. Ayuk's probably going to miss all of next year. Debo could be gone next year. JJ and Pearsall and Cowing, it could be your wide receiver core next year. So, that's kind of a scary situation. They need somebody who can run, and they need somebody who's got some youth who's not necessarily a free agent at the end of the year. So let's take a look at some of the options that I think are better options for the 49ers. Now, one guy that I kind of like, and I've been talking about, is Darius Slayton of the New York Giants. He's relatively cheap. He makes $2.5 million as far as base salary for 2024. But only downside for Slayton, who does run 4.39, or at least did coming out of college, is that he's in the final year of his deal. So he's going to be a free agent in March. So I don't know that I want to trade draft pick compensation, anything of significance for Slayton, because he is, a free agent at the end of the year, and he's probably going to walk away. The New York Giants also, though, have Jalen Hyatt, the youngster from Tennessee, who's got great vertical speed, and he's had a hard time fitting in. And now, obviously, they have Malik Neighbors, who's their number one guy, and Hyatt's kind of got lost in the shuffle behind Slayton, behind Wandale, behind some of the other receivers that they have there. But he's got vertical speed, and he's young. And to me, those are the two traits that if I'm the Niners, I'm looking for as a wide receiver. So don't forget that name, Jalen Hyatt, and maybe you could pair him in a deal with Azeez Ojulari. Garrett Wilson is the crown jewel if he's available. He was asked if he's going to be traded the other day, and he says, I'm not really sure. I'm hearing a lot of the rumors. The Jets, put out messages that they probably will rebuff any trade efforts for Wilson. This is a guy that I would trade my first-round pick for next year. Why? Because he's a 4.38 runner who also has route running ability. He will emerge as the 49ers' best wide receiver if they made this trade. And they just used a number one pick on Ricky Pearsall, and of course they used a number one pick on Ayuk once upon a time. So do they want to use a number one pick on a wide receiver? They probably don't. They probably would rather use a number one pick on a defensive lineman or an offensive tackle. But man, if you could get Garrett Wilson, he could help you right away, and then he could be your best receiver a year from now, and you wouldn't even feel the injury to Ayuk nearly as much as you're feeling it right now, and you're going to feel it next year when he's not playing. So Garrett Wilson is really intriguing to me. Tutu Atwell is another name that's really intriguing just because he has 4.2 speed. Elijah Moore ran 4.34 coming out of Ole Miss. He's in Cleveland. Cleveland's looking to save a lot of money. Elijah Moore, to me, makes a lot of sense. So I like Slayton, but he is a free agent. I like Hyatt, but he's, a little undersized. He hasn't done it yet. I love Garrett Wilson, but it's going to cost you your first-round pick. Love Tutu Atwell. He's a true burner. I think you could get him at a reasonable price, and I think Elijah Moore could be acquired at a somewhat reasonable price. So those are the guys I'd be looking at. I don't want anybody slow, and I don't want anybody old. I don't want anybody who's walking away at the end of the year. I'd rather have somebody that's fast, young, and that I can control into next season, so I can have a top receiver with Ayuk probably set to miss at least half the year, if not most of the year, next year because of his injury. So that's the wide receiver room. Now, at the trade deadline, there's going to be some other guys as well. Some of the other intriguing names that could be of interest to the 49ers. Baron Browning, the former Ohio State stacked linebacker who's kind of transitioned to being more of a defensive end for the Broncos. I like Browning in either spot. I like him as a backup interior, inside linebacker, but I also like him as a kind of a light, fast defensive end off the edge. He would make a lot of sense to me. Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals would make a ton of sense. If the Bengals want to move Hendrickson opposite Bosa would be absolutely amazing. There's still Hassan Reddick with the Jets. There's Zardarius Smith with the Browns. There's Azeez Ojulari with the Giants. And to me, of all of these guys, Ojulari makes the most sense. The Niners have depth issues off the edge on the defense. You've got Bosa, you've got the veteran Leonard Floyd opposite him. Bosa leads the team with 44 quarterback pressures and 4.5 sacks. Floyd has shown some juice at times. He's had 24 pressures and 3 sacks. But, after Bosa and after Floyd, the production really, really falls off. Now, Sam O has given them some nice push. Beal is still really raw. Drake Jackson's done for the year. They could use another rotational edge player. So who's on that list? I mean, there's a number of guys. There's Zardarius Smith from Cleveland. There's Hassan Reddick. There's Azeez Ojulari. There's Hendrickson. Ojulari, to me, makes the most sense. Why? Because he's young and he's hot. He's playing well right now. He's been a sensation in the 3 weeks since Kayvon Thibodeau went down with an injury. Ojulari has gotten some more run with the Giants, and he's been fantastic. He's generated 6 sacks on the year, 5 over the past 3 games, and he's got a 14% pressure rate over those 3 games, which is excellent. Now, he's also set to hit free agency at the end of the year, but Azeez Ojulari is the kind of difference-making edge player that I think the 49ers could really, really use. Other guys that could be of interest to them between now and the trade deadline, would not be surprised. Alvin Kamara, the Saints running back. Greg Newsome II, the nickel corner for the Cleveland Browns. Zach Wilson, the quarterback for Denver. Sebastian Joseph Day, the defensive tackle from Tennessee. Budda Baker, the safety from Arizona. Walker Little, the offensive tackle from Jacksonville. And, if Arizona's out of it, James Conner. A lot of people think that Arizona may move James Conner. Conner might be the kind of player that, the kind of back that the 49ers really, really need. I mean, if you say, how do you see James Conner as a fit with the 49ers? I would simply say this. The Niners fashion themselves as a playoff team, okay? They're going to get Christian McCaffrey back, but we don't know what McCaffrey's going to be. So you have McCaffrey and you have Mason. You don't have Elijah Mitchell, who was your best goal line runner, your best inside runner, the guy who had the best feel for short yardage. You have to have a back who's powerful, who can take it up in there on 1st and goal from the 5. You have to be able to score running the football inside the 5-yard line. And the one thing about James Conner is he is a load. He is a load. He runs hard. And he, if you could get a back like that, man, I mean, your red zone issues would probably be solved. Your issues running the ball in the low red zone would be solved. This guy would punch it inside the 5. And for that reason alone, if Conner's available, and it's reasonable draft pick compensation, I'm knocking on the door of Monty Ossenfort saying, hey, Monty, what do you want for James Conner? All right, there you go. There is the video. Thanks to Better for sponsoring this video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for sponsoring the Krug Show. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.